On this Aircheck episode, it's part 3 of 4 in our 4-part series with national television and radio voiceover pro, Greg O'Brien, the OB.
As we continue speaking with the OB, Greg tells the story of his opportunity to run WPDH's sister station, WRRV. We also find out how Greg and Rich DeSisto end up meeting while both getting their New York City radio debut on Pure Rock Q104.3. Greg also recounts the moments he decided to take a leap of faith to pursue his voiceover career at Bill Young Productions.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Aircheck Season 4, a podcast about radio's personality from radio personalities, managers, consultants, owners, and your most humble hosts from Philadelphia, Rich DeSisto and Paul Kelly.
I'm Rich DeSisto.
And I'm Paul Kelly.
When we last spoke with Greg O'Brien, we found out how Greg approaches putting his voice to a radio commercial. More specifically, how he assembled the various voiceover projects he was assigned at Bill Young Productions.
One thing about doing concert spot is the music that you create, the music bed, that should be able to sit on its own.
Plus, we also learned the advice he received from then WDHA program director Mike Boyle and how it impacted Greg.
He actually sent me back a letter and really broke down my demo. He really dissected and gave it a critique that, hey, you're trying too hard, blah, 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 blah. Whether he knows it or not, very instrumental in getting my career jump-started.
Plus, Greg's first real radio gig at WPDH in Poughkeepsie, New York, following his WNEW internship.
The home of rock and roll, 101.5 WPDH.
Let's welcome again Greg O'Brien. Last episode, we left our conversation talking about your stop at WPDH in Poughkeepsie, a familiar stop for me as well, and that's just a whole completely different story. But from that experience in Poughkeepsie, you end up meeting Rich DeSisto here, back in the Big Apple at Q104.3. Tell us that story.
Well, Rich, you can help me too with this, but it was QXR, right? Classical station.
Yeah, it was the classical station, and in late December of 93, they flipped to a hard rock format. And like all stations, a format flip usually comes with a stunt of some fashion. And this new station became WAXQ, New York's Pure Rock Q104.3, and they launched with an A to Z gimmick, kind of showcasing their new library of what to expect.
This is Randy Bongarten, President and General Manager of WNCN. Tonight at 12 midnight, WNCN is permanently leaving the air, and this radio station will no longer broadcast classical music. It is clear that the needs of the New York metropolitan area radio audience have changed over the years. The audience for classical music, which was never large, has been eroding, and its diminishing size can no longer support the number of existing classical stations. At the same time, new music has been developing that hundreds of thousands of people want to hear, but is generally unavailable on the radio. It is to this unserved audience, listeners of current rock, that the new radio station, Q104.3, will address itself. Thank you.
And now we say goodbye to WNCN New York. And hello to WAXQ 104.3, New York's Pure Rock. The new Q104.3.
And I got hired late spring of 94, about 4 or 5 months later. I don't remember, though, Greg. Were you already there by then?
I think it was about the same time. I think a lot of us, you and me, started on weekends and fill-ins, I believe.
Yeah, overnights. And, you mentioned overnights.
For me, it was such a great experience. And again, we did, at that time, we had a cool bunch of people working there.
Yeah.
We really did. And I think we had a lot of fun, and we enjoyed a lot of people. But yeah, it was a kind of interesting that, oh my God, I'm on the air in New York City.
All right, here's a contest. Which one of you can name some of the air staff for me?
Oh, I can do that.
From when you were there, not now.
Yeah, not now.
When I was there.
Yeah.
Maria Melito was there.
She came in afterwards.
After us.
Yeah.
One of the people that started with Rich and I was Donna.
New York's Pure Rock Q104.3. No, don't spit me out. I just got here. Good morning. That's Collective Soul and December. I'm Donna. Nice to have you listening to Q104.3 this morning. Jimi Hendrix.
Legendary Donna
Yep.
from WBAB.
Good morning and welcome to Plugged Into Long Island. I'm Donna. My guests in the studio today, Rachel DeMolfido and Cynthia Sansone.
Mark Raz,
afternoons. Yep.
New York's Pure Rock Q104.3. That's live from the Mental Jewelry CD a couple years back, and Pain Lives on the Riverside. And Kiss, Rock and Roll All Night live. Before that, it's Raz, the Q104 forecast, clear early tonight, and then rain overnight in the 40s.
Julie Slater.
Tripping Daisy on New York's Pure Rock Q104.3. And if you were at Bryant Park, did you feel a little flashback there? We had some Paw as well. Paw and Tripping Daisy both played at our free pre-firework concert in the park at Bryant Park. I'm Julie Slater in for Candy. I'd like to say hi to everybody.
Julie Slater, who went on to do middays at K-Rock.
Yes.
Ida Hackala was middays on Q at the time.
Ida Hackala.
Yeah.
Q104.3, New York's Pure Rock. That's Hum. That's the name of the group. H-U-M, Hum. Song is called Stars. How you doing? My name's Ida Hackala. You know you can join Q104.3
Ida Hackala
this
had
Wednesday.
the headphone holiday show.
That's right.
I know we had a morning show with Trent Tyler.
Yes.
And I believe Christine Nagy was on.
Yep.
with that.
Trent and Christine. Yep. They were together. Yep. She's doing mornings now over at Light FM.
Great gal.
106.7 Light FM.
It's Christine Nagy, and our guest today is Emily Kinney. We know her best as Beth from The Walking Dead, but she's also
So yeah, we had a decent and fun group there.
Finally, New York has its own pure rock radio station, the new Q104.3 FM. The new Q104.3.
So I'm working with Rich in Wildwood, New Jersey at the time. He's hopping on a bus out of Wildwood to go up to New York to do these shows. You're taking your car for 2 hours down the Thruway to get into the city to do the show.
It's Iconic
Parkway.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's not fun to drive either, by the way.
Not even on a sunny day.
No.
So you're still in Poughkeepsie. You've done your druthers with PDH, and the next thing you know, they bought a radio station. They're going to make a modern rock station. Oh, we need a PD. Tell us that story.
Well, that was we had a chance of buying a station out in Middletown, New York, which is in, I guess, the metro area. An intern of ours who became an employee at PDH in production and filling in on the air, Andrew Boris, who was a lot younger than I was, just showed great promise. So they decided to send me and Andrew to run the new alternative station, WRRV.
92.7 and 96.9 WRRV. Visit WRRV.com and get connected. 92.7, 96.9 WRRV.
I said, you're sending me?
To where?
You're trusting me to do this? But it was out in Middletown, so I still lived in Poughkeepsie, so it was about an hour drive every day. And I'm not a big driver. I do not like driving, but I liked where I lived. I sucked it up and drove an hour. But this station was something new. And Andrew, who just recently had, at that time, just started working full time with us. And he just was one of those people that got it. It didn't have to really train him very hard. He took for a young guy like that, he became the morning guy, music all morning with Boris at WRV. I did afternoons. And basically, Andrew was the music director. But to be honest with you, it was his station. He really took that from day one. Even though I was the program director, he just had the energy to really take that station to new heights with great promotion, great production skills. He had great management skills as well. I would like to take credit for it, but I can't. He was the guy. The morning show grew to be as popular as, in a way, compatible to what WPDH had with Waking Up with the Wolf. A very consistent, enjoyable morning show. It just took off, and it's still riding high today, WRV.
This is an Air Check Rewind, Season 2. Fred Jacobs.
We really had a lot of fun. I mean, back then, the radio station was very much a reflection of who you were as a person. When I programmed in Detroit, there were really 4 rock stations, and that was the case in a lot of markets. I mean, Philly was like that. Chicago was like that. Big markets had 3 or 4 stations that were all kind of similar in that they played rock and they had personalities. So you really had to be a great radio station to stand out and win in that environment.
Aircheck, a podcast about radio's personality from Radio Personalities. Seasons 1 and 2 available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. You can also listen on your smart speaker. Just say, Alexa, play Aircheck Podcast, or OK Google, play Aircheck Podcast.
So at some point during your time at Bill Young Productions down there in Houston, Greg, I guess you kind of thought you could do this voiceover thing on your own and maybe spread your wings again and go solo. Talk about how Greg O'Brien voiceover started. What was the feeling behind that decision?
You know, things change over the years. I was lucky to be with them for 13 years. I learned a lot. You know, it was the same thing as in radio. You learn from everybody that's around you, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's other audio producers and voiceover talent that we had in the building. It was just a time for another bit of change. I knew that I could utilize my talents even more than just concerts, because when you're in, you're devoting all your time to doing concert advertising. It was very busy. It was fulfilling, but you kind of think I can do so much more. Not that I was better, but I had the confidence that I thought I could really expand and do a lot more and show off my talents and be able to show clients and show agents that, hey, we have something here. You have talent that could take you into different places. Introducing Applebee's new Irresistibles. Now starting at $7.99. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. A $500 million jackpot split 19 ways. Too bad someone missed out due to a dead car battery. You never know where a bad battery will take you. It was another journey, I think. A lot of people don't like to start over again. But I always found that sometimes there's a gift to starting over again because it gives you a renewed energy and it takes you out of a comfort zone, I think, is the best way. And once you succeed in that on your own, there's just an extra kick of confidence that comes with that. And you put yourself out there. I'm lucky enough that, I only have me to worry about. I don't have a, wife and kids and that responsibility. So it lets me not be too afraid to take those steps, to try something new.
Well, you put yourself in an arena with a lot of other talent out there who are either on their own or represented by some of those agencies that you referenced. And a lot of people might not even realize the long list of voiceover talents that are in the business doing this project or that project. I mean, the one comes to mind of that booming voiceover guy that did all the movie trailers, the late great Don LaFontaine, whose voice was on everything. I mean, his famous line was, "In a world."
Paula Sela is a real Geico customer, not an actor. So to help tell her story, we hired that announcer guy from the movies.
When the storm hit, both our cars were totally underwater.
In a world where both of our cars were totally underwater,
we thought it would take forever to get some help.
But a new wind was about to blow.
If you were to do a Don LaFontaine tribute, how would your line go?
In a world where man meets beast and beast meets man.
Now, see,
I don't know
the nuance of that. And again, guys like Paul and I and yourself in radio and you being a voiceover artist, you did something with your voice there that is just so an automatic kind of thing in your subconscious. But explain a little bit, dissect a little bit what you just did, because there was a growl, there was a purposeful pause, there was a type of deep, push that you kind of add to the way you project your voice. And it was just 5-6 words in a sentence and a half. I mean, that creative kind of flow and formula that creates and articulates such a powerful message to the ear of the listener that is just so subconsciously received, but from your perspective, explain a little bit what you're putting into that sentence and a half when you're delivering a line like that.
Everything has a rhythm. As a disc jockey, there's a rhythm to what you do. And in voicing a spot or a scene, there's a rhythm. And there's something in you that, when you're talking about that inner world, I think there's only been 2 people and now there's only one guy, and I forget his name, and it drives me crazy. But he's the one guy that does the trailer voice for movies.
Is it Howard Parker?
Yeah.
Howard
Parker?
There you go.
Yeah.
In a world where freedom is history.
Where am I? What is this place?
Get him out and get him clean!
Brutality is law.
Rise when your master enters.
The powerful rule by fear.
Next you'll be telling us these beasts have a soul.
Is there a soul in there?
They don't need anybody else. And it's true. They have him. He's been doing it for the longest time, and it's so familiar. And his rhythm and his sound, not that it's so booming, but for some strange reason, the voice just sets the scene.
He's come a long way since being my news guy in Cape May County, New Jersey.
Hey, listen, there, and Rich, you said it before, you could go on agency websites and you could see the list of voice talent they have, whether the names are very familiar or they're not familiar. They have loads of talent, but do they have your talent? Do they have your uniqueness? Now, you could look at those as an aspiring voice talent, and you could go on there. And this is what I tell people when they say, people say, oh, I'm thinking about doing voiceover. Well, if you're thinking about it, you might want to rethink it. And I say that because you want to go in saying, I know I can do this. You want to look at these lists of people or talents and says, can you match up to that? Are you willing to, and do you have the confidence to say, yes, I could be that person, not copy them, but be a top talent and get the right training from the right coach, which is the first thing that you would need to do as an aspiring voice talent. Not all radio people are voiceover artists, too, but coaching is probably the most important thing to do when you try to get into voiceover. They teach you trends. They teach you how to take certain things from the spot, how to be unique. And without a coach, you don't have a chance in the business. Tiger Woods has a coach. And you think, what the hell would Tiger Woods need a coach for? He has a coach. LaFontaine had a coach too. And they keep you updated. They help you to stay relevant and find your uniqueness that you might not know you have yet. And it brings that stuff out to you. How to interpret copy, how to tell that story, how to use your voice and, again, your rhythm. I'll give you an example. Clients are looking for something, like they'll send an audition and they say, we want a Morgan Freeman read. Now, I had done a spot a few years ago. For some strange reason, I hit on a Morgan Freeman type read. And these people, oh, you sound just like Morgan Freeman. No, I don't.
There are those of us who like to venture to the unexplored, to see the beauty in the strange and unknown.
I matched what his timing was, his delivery, not copied it. I try to try to look at what he had. I mean, these people said, you sound just like Morgan Freeman. I said, oh, God, no, I don't.
We see protecting our environment not as a perpetual tragedy, but as a story of salvation, of reinvention.
But again, you use the timing. Oh, who's the other? Sam Elliott. That's a big one everybody wants to sound like now. But you can't sound like that. You can use his timing, look at his timing, look at his sarcasm. They never know until they hear it. And coaching will help you do that. It's like, oh, I want to sound like, Sam Elliott. Well, you're not going to sound like Sam Elliott. You might have the cadence that he has. You might develop that, but you're never going to sound like them.
A lot of moving parts during that period in Greg's career.
Seems that he made all the right decisions.
On part 4 of 4 with Greg O'Brien, he reinforces the importance of voice actors being able to tell a good story. We're also introduced to Greg's voiceover coach and how important they are to every voice talent. Greg also shows us his playful side and how he uses his voice to parody others, and what he does to keep his voice healthy.
You can follow us, stream, and download every episode of AirCheck on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also tell your smart speaker to play AirCheck Podcast. If you haven't done so, give us a great rating. We'd also love to hear from you on our Facebook page, AirCheck Me.
This is Rich DeSisto.
And I'm Paul Kelly.
See ya.
Closing out another episode of AirCheck, a podcast about radio's personality from radio personalities. If you have radio stories to share, we'd love to hear from you. Join the AirCheck guest list. Email aircheckme@gmail.com. Musical props are Chris Gordon's. Announcer props, I'll take those. Greg O'Brien, the OB. AirCheck is available now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also tell your smart speaker to play AirCheck Podcast. AirCheck is the creation of RDPK Productions.